Hey, welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I am Steve Smith. We have a couple of things I want to cover today. I just covered these over on American Reversion. I know that a lot of you are, and by the way, I should say welcome to all the new subscribers. I see that we're getting a bunch more. A lot of people are telling me that they have been unsubscribed, and didn't get any notifications from me from a long time, and then I went and hunted around and found it again. So I guess that's those shenanigans are going on. Apparently they noticed me, and so you might make sure that you're subscribed, or let friends of yours who think that they haven't seen anything from me for a while, let them know, spread it around. I've noticed some funny business, I think, with my subscription numbers. I don't really care that much, to be honest with you, but I do notice. Doesn't make any difference with what I do here. I'm going to keep doing what I do just because that's what I feel like doing. But it looks like there's some funny business going on. So make sure that you're subscribed still and ring the bell. And I don't know if it does any good if you hit a thumbs up or not. I don't know if that helps the algorithm. Probably most of you know more about that than I do, but just make sure that you are. And welcome also to all the new people over on the Patreon side. Good to have you. And we put extra stuff over there. We've got a couple of things I want to talk about. Right-wing extremism, a warning from the DHS, our beloved DHS, and the fact that we're going to war here pretty soon. I want to cover those from a preparedness standpoint. I covered these in some depth over on American Reversion. I'll put the link down here. I know that a lot of you, and I should say this more, a lot of you have great interest and great knowledge in the political process and our political history, and interest in what's going on now. And so for those of you who are more into that, and not just into the surviving and preparing and food and guns and stuff like that, I think you would like to be over on American Reversion. That's where we get into this stuff a lot more, a lot deeper, and we get into funny stuff over there too. So that's American Reversion channel. Come join us there if you would like. Okay, the first thing here, and I covered this in quite a bit of detail over there, is this came out from the Daily Beast, who, we all know what the Daily Beast is, right? But it's good to see what kind of information is coming from the other side. Because if you don't, then you don't know what's coming, and only a fool doesn't want to know what's coming. So this is under their national security banner. DHS warns that right-wing extremists could attack the power grid. So I'll tell you right now, there's going to be an attack, but we'll get to that in a minute. Let me scroll back up here. I'm sitting in a different spot, as you can see, so that I can look at my laptop while I'm doing this. Okay, it says here the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, is warning that violent domestic groups and racially motivated extremists may attack the electric sector. Okay. Oh, yeah. Racially motivated extremists. We all know why they've added that little subset in there, don't we? Okay. I'm going to read the article here. It says domestic violent extremists and racially motivated extremists. That's so they can have twice as many agents in the same office. This is the domestic violent extremist side, and this is the racially motivated extremist side. We need more agents. We need an extra special agent in charge. Blah blah blah. They have been developing plans. These two horrible groups. Developing plans to attack the U.S. electric sector, according to an intelligence bulletin from the Department of Homeland Security that was issued this week and obtained by the Daily Beast, which means that somebody over at DHS texted somebody they knew at the Daily Beast and said, here, report this. DVEs, the new three-letter acronym for domestic violent extremist, DVEs have developed credible, specific plans to attack electricity infrastructure since at least 2020, identifying the electric grid as a particularly attractive target given its interdependency with other infrastructure sectors, the alert said. DHS's Office of Intelligence and Analysis, the DHS-OIA, issued the alert to the electric sector Monday following the request from power companies to take stock of increased threats from domestic violent extremists in 2020 and 2021. The alert comes as DHS and federal investigators strain to keep up with the threat of domestic violent extremists. Yes, they're just straining, aren't they? I know. Of course, I don't have to say it, do I? Okay. And continue to work to charge participants in the January 6th picnic. Let me see here. Oh, yeah. Here's a good one. Oh, I love this one. You're going to love it, too. The head of DHS's Office of Intelligence and Analysis, the DHS-OIA, John Cohen, told lawmakers in recent testimony that nearly 1 year after the picnic on Capitol Hill, the threat landscape, I love this. As I mentioned on the other channel, there's two terms that they love, landscape and environment. Makes them sound all official. The threat landscape from domestic violent extremists is one of the most complex, volatile, and dynamic that I've experienced in my career. So he says that there have been buckling down on efforts to share more intelligence on domestic violence extremists with the private sector and state and local partners, blah, 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 fusion centers, anyone? Over the last year and a half, FBI has been pushing more resources to domestic terrorism investigations. Yeah, we covered a little bit about that yesterday, didn't we? And the FBI has more than doubled its domestic terrorism caseload since the spring of 2020, according to the FBI Director Christopher Wray. Well, Lord knows they don't have anything else to do, right? That actually does come under their purview. Okay, the thing here is here. What does that mean to us? Well, it means to me that there's probably going to be an attack on the grid. Now, what the extent of that attack is going to be, who knows? They're telling us what they're going to do. They're preparing an entire half of the country, at least half, plus at least a third, plus the dumber half of the middle third. They're priming them to believe that domestic violent extremists and racially motivated extremists, if I remember that, are out to take down the power grid, and these are numero uno enemies of our country, and so to be ready and be very, very scared. You better be afraid. And we're doing everything we can. We're going to get them, but we can't be everywhere at all times. And so I wouldn't be surprised is that we're going to see something happen. It's going to serve, as you know, a couple of different, probably several different purposes. It's going to show that the enemy is out there. It's going to probably bring about, the push for more constitutional rights clamps. It's going to it's going to take everyone's minds off everything else that's going on in the country, right? All of it's we got to get them away from the economy. We got to get them away from the southern border. We've got to get their eyes off of China. We've got to get their eyes off of the flu and the flu medicine. All this kind of stuff, because there is something much more important than all of that, and that is these make-believe domestic. Do you know any domestic violent extremists? I don't, and to be honest, I probably should if there were some around, but I don't. But they do, so get ready. Here's from a preparedness perspective. Get ready for there to be an attack on the grid. Where it's going to be, the extent to which it's going to be, who knows, how long it's going to last. They're going to make sure that it's big enough and lasts long enough to make whatever little points they need to make out of it. That's the thing. So it will, it'll drive prices up. It'll take everybody's mind off of the fact they can't find peanut butter in the store. that their gas prices went up $1. Well, we can't help that, but we have domestic violence extremists at work here, and they took down, part of the grid. And then it'll give them a chance to see how people act in that area. Okay, it will give them an opportunity to declare marital. Can I even say that MA word, or should I say marital law? I'm not sure. I don't. Let me know about that, and see how that goes. Right. So that's the first thing. So if you haven't scraped that Trump sticker completely off of your car, or all those things that they don't like, those caps that you might wear and things like that, you just realize that they're setting it up so that, just like in the old Fusion days where they said anybody with a Ron Paul bumper sticker or a Constitution or a 3%er or anything like that, you all remember where the 3%ers started, right? You remember where the Oath Keepers started? Remember what they've made them into? Okay, be careful and be ready. Be ready for that, because I'd give it a 90% that something's going to happen. They've just told us they want it to happen. If they want it to happen, they will make it happen. Okay. Now, the other thing that, you know what? When I do American Reversion, I have everything lined up on the screen here. And let's see if this is what I want. And I didn't do that for this. Okay, the next thing. Okay, I found it. The next thing is we're going to war. Not you and I. You and I are not going to war. But we are the curmudgeon-in-chief, the little gerbil up there, has decided, as has all his handlers, that it's time for another war because, a couple of reasons, because the progressives always start a war to take people's eyes and minds off of the real problem that's going on. Plus, it makes a lot of money. I want to slide something in here. I'm going to go through 10 things here of why we are going to war. Maybe I will. I'm going to read something. I'm going to do the 10 first. I'm going to read something. It's from Smedley Butler's pamphlet, War is a Racket. I'm going to get back to that in just a second. If you haven't read it, you'll want to hear it. If you have read it, you'll want to hear it again. Okay, the following 10 signs, this is from Red Wave Press, that indicate the U.S., the U.K., Israel, and NATO all believe we are on the precipice of war with Russia. Well, the others may believe it. We want it. Well, not us, but our leaders. Okay, number 1, the U.S. State Department has issued a formal travel advisory warning that Americans should stay out of Ukraine. Yeah, okay. The U.S. and U.K. are both reducing embassy staffing levels. Yeah. Number 3, family members of U.S. embassy personnel in Kiev are being evacuated. Yeah, although our gerbil-in-chief has said, well, the United States is in no position to extract any U.S. citizens, as many in Afghanistan will attest. 4, Israel is planning a mass evacuation of Jewish people from Ukraine. And as I said on the other channel, I said, well, I think that was misstated. Not all Israelis are Jewish. And so I would imagine that Israel is probably planning an extraction of Israelis, not just Jewish people. Number 5, CNN is reporting, meaning they could be lying, that as many as 8,500 U.S. troops have been put on heightened alert for possible deployment to Eastern Europe. Okay, that doesn't mean they're going to go fight, although I'm sure there are already some special people in there doing things, special things. But they're going over to stand up and just kind of, poke Putin in the eye. Putin's, this is really none of our business, just like most of the wars that have happened, except that we have stuck our nose a couple of times into business that wasn't ours. And Putin, I'm no fan of Putin, but I understand him, and he's saying, man, this is enough. This is enough. So we're going over there to bluster. Number 6, the New York Times is reporting that the Biden administration is also considering sending warships and aircraft into the region. Well, they always do this. Okay, send the Ronald Reagan or the Abraham Lincoln in that way, to show how tough we are. They might fly a few sorties off of them. Who knows? Number 7, other Western European nations are also preparing to send forces to Eastern Europe. It says Denmark is sending a frigate and deploying F-16s. Spain is sending warships and could send fighter jets to Bulgaria. France stands ready to send troops to Romania. France stands ready to send troops. They might send the Legion, but they're not going to send Frenchmen. Okay, what that is that's not them saying, hey, we want to be a part of the fight. That's them saying, hey, we know there's not going to be a fight, but at least it involves us, but we want to be a part of the party, okay? Which means we want some of the NATO money when you dole it out. And when it gets to the point to where if anybody is called in to do anything, all of a sudden, what? What? Oh no, we have other things. We have we must go. Other things to do. Sorry, I'll get back to you. Number 8, the British news source is reporting that hundreds of military trains packed with Russian troops have been moving into Belarus. Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to. Excuse me. Putin does these things because they can have an effect. We do them because they make money. Putin is not a sissy. He's not a gerbil. And he doesn't like being poked. I don't either. So yeah, they're moving a lot of stuff into Belarus. Number 9, because he knows that his war is not going to be with the United States. It's going to be with Ukraine. Now Ukraine's going to have a lot of our equipment and munitions, but still it comes down to Ukrainians. Okay, now they're tough. I'm saying, but he knows he's not going to be up against American military forces. Hopefully. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson is alleging that the Russians are planning a, quote, lightning war that could take out Kiev. And number 10, finally, the UK's Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office has announced that they have obtained information, quote, suggesting that the Russian government is plotting to install a pro-Kremlin leader in Kiev. As I said on the other channel, that's sometimes no more than Nigel and Percy talking to each other over the desk and saying, Nigel, you think that the Russian could be plotting to install a pro-Kremlin leader in Kiev? And I think so. Okay, so what does that mean? Why are we involved in this? Why is there going to be a war? We are going to be involved. And hopefully no American troops will be involved, but they always claim that no American troops will be involved, and then American troops are involved. Do you remember Vietnam? We only have advisors there. Do you remember pretty much every other stinking war that the progressives have gotten us into? None of which the American people wanted to be a part of. It's about money. Now, our gerbil-in-chief needs the war to keep everybody's attention off of Hunter and off of China and off of the China virus and the southern border and the economy. And this guy's got a list longer than Carter, okay? And to make money because they are all about the money. If you haven't read what I think is one of the greatest little books ever written, Smedley Butler, and I found this book long after I had already reached these same conclusions myself, but it's a little booklet that I have all of my people when they come to me and they want to train, or they say that they tell me they want to go into the military and all that, and I go, no, I haven't read this. He says, War is a Racket, Chapter 1. It's just a bit of page. You'll enjoy hearing this. It always has been. This is Smedley Butler. It is possibly the oldest, easily the most profitable, and surely the most vicious. It is the only one international in scope. Well, now you would say that corporations and banking and all that, but he wrote this a long time ago. It is the only one in which the profits are reckoned in dollars and the losses in lives. A racket is best described, I believe, as something that is not what it seems to the majority of the people. Only a small inside group knows what it is about. It is conducted for the benefit of the very few at the expense of the very many. Out of war, a few people make huge fortunes. In the World War, he wrote this before the Second World War, a mere handful garnered the profits of the conflict. At least 21,000 new millionaires and billionaires were made in the United States during the World War. That's back when millionaires and billionaires were something. That many admitted their huge blood gains in their income tax returns. How many other war millionaires falsified theirs? How many of these war millionaires shouldered a rifle? How many of them dug a trench? How many of them knew what it meant to go hungry in a rat-infested dugout? How many of them spent sleepless, frightened nights ducking shells and shrapnel and machine gun bullets? How many of them parried a bayonet thrust of an enemy? And how many of them were wounded or killed in battle? If you haven't read it, buy that. You can get it on Amazon, read the whole thing. It's not much. It's probably 30 pages, short pages. And it is some of the biggest truth you'll ever read in your life. So we have to be worried about, do we have to be worried about domestic terrorism? Nope. But we have to be worried about what they're going to do to make it look like domestic terrorism is real. And that's going to have an effect. So prep up. Make sure that if you're in the area where that grid down magically happens, well, make sure that you can last. Okay. They may be, doing a drill on how many people come down to the soup line. You don't want to be one of those. And we're going to be ostensibly in a war, just one more of America's endless wars, to where we don't participate immediately, just kind of around the fringes, but we know how that works. All of a sudden it's more and more and more. But what's going to happen immediately is the cost of everything is going to go up. Your gas is going to go up $1 or more a gallon. The price of everything. And they're going to try to get everybody to believe that we're all in this together. And we're fighting for some stinking thing, like, to stop communism, like in Vietnam, and to stop Hitler and the Nazis in World War II, and to stop the war forever in the Hun in World War I, and remember the Maine and the Spanish-American War, all this kind of stuff. They're going to try to make everybody think we're in this together, so that everybody will be happy to shoulder the sacrifices together, which means inflation. It means, excuse me, it means higher gas prices, higher food prices, higher housing prices, higher interest rates, all of these things. General preparedness takes care of everything. But the level of general preparedness is what's important. So I would suggest that, keeping these things in mind, you take your general preparedness into specialty preparedness and super preparedness. Prepare everything in the world you can. Do you remember that the morning that you heard about the Twin Towers being hit? Remember how gas shot up? Do you remember how everybody was in a frenzy? Do you remember how no planes were flying for however long? Do you remember how willingly people were to give up, how willing they were to give up their rights, because after all they needed security? This is the game that's being played, and some of us are going to be prepared for it. Some people are not going to be prepared for it. But if you know people in that second camp, people who are near and dear to you, friends, family, try to get them on board. Try to help them to understand what's going on, and what could be coming down the pike. The sad thing is that they may not believe you now, but when that bad thing happens, and that's the sad part, then all of a sudden people become true believers, right? So I'm going to leave it at that for now. Prep up, prep hard, super prep. If you like, I do suggest those of you guys who are into, the current events and the politics, love to have you over on American Reversion. I cover a lot more stuff about this over there, and love to have both your viewership and your comments, because y'all are sharp. And with that, I think I'm going to call it a day, but these are the things that they're telling us right up. is on their scope, and if it's on their scope, it should be on our scope. So you all have a good day. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow, and I don't think that preparing well today has ever been more important. So you all have a good day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.